Hi, welcome to Parts of Montessori, a series where I talk about my past, present, and future experiences in Montessori. I'm Bethany, a former Montessori student and now a Montessori teacher. Parts of Montessori is part of my online business, Parts of the Language LLC, where I sell digital and printable products and services for Spanish language learning and digital and printable products for Montessori environments. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about my journey through Montessori so far. So before I get to that, what I am currently doing in my classroom. Well, this week I will talk about the knowledge fair. So last year we did a science fair, and I currently teach lower elementary, so grades 1, 2, and 3. And we did the poster boards. Kids either picked a science topic to research or to do an experiment and talk about it. But this year for the knowledge fair, we are going to, actually the kids are currently researching whatever they would like to learn about. So we have a wide variety of topics kids are picking, which is awesome. And it shows what they're interested in, because a huge part of Montessori is being able to study what you are interested in. So this is just a great way. So what is the difference for the knowledge fair? Well, first, instead of making a board like a science board, we're making a book. So I'm just having the kids type out their sentences after they have researched it, put it in their own words, and then type out the pages of their book, and then they will draw on it. And so I'm using an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and I'm going to cut it down the 8.5 way. So there's 2 pieces out of it, and then I'll laminate them back to back and then bind it with a book binder. So then the kids will study what they are learning or study what they put in their book and remember the facts. So when the families come to walk around to see, they will have the knowledge of what they researched, and then they could say, would you like to see my book or learn more about it? I have, so they don't have to remember everything, but because when you start to research things, it could be about anything, right? So you could go deep dive into something or things like that. So I said, pick 10 facts. So it wasn't overwhelming, but 10 facts that make sense. No one's doing this, but if you're doing a tree, like let's say they're interested in trees, we wouldn't talk about everything, 10 random facts about trees. It would either be like types of trees and facts about those, or one type of tree and 10 facts about those, or the parts of the tree and then just see the parts of the tree and then say facts about the parts. So a topic could be broad and then narrowed down to what their 10 facts will be about. And they don't have to remember all 10. This is the first time we're doing it, so we will see how that part goes. But that is something we are currently doing in the class. So one other thing I would like to mention is I just made these maps for the students to follow based off my scope and sequence. I've always had this information, but the students, what I did before this was when they got a presentation, I would write it down. If it was a math presentation, I would write it down under math. If it was a language, under language. And if it was a cultural, under cultural. And now we still have the cultural list up. We still write down what they do for cultural. But for math and language, I've made these maps for them to follow. And it's helping immensely with students progressing with their work and saying, hey, I would like to go to the next thing. Whereas before it's like, well, what do I do for a language? Some students do want to pick something. And if they want to pick something that's not next on the map, of course, they can do it, within reason. If it's a super simple work, we're trying to challenge ourselves. Like if they've done it many times before, or they know they've already mastered that skill, then they need to move, to a more challenging skill. But that's what the map is there to do. I'm going to make a separate video. I'll talk about it more on these episodes, but I'll make a whole separate video about showing you the actual maps. And it just has been so helpful. If the student needs a presentation about what's on the map, then I will just present it to them then. And then they click the presentation or just check off the presentation, and once they complete it, they check it off. And I have other videos also about how I use my work plan that I love, and I also have a video explaining my whole work plan, and I think I'll talk about an episode about the work plan too. But those are just some things that have been new. Even though it's February right now, there's always something new that, just to help the structure run better and everything. So here is what my journey's been like so far in Montessori. So my journey in Montessori. When I was a child, I attended a Montessori school. I went to early childhood, the ages 3 to 6 class, and through kindergarten, and then I went to elementary 1, ages 6 to 9, and elementary 2, 9 to 12, until 5th grade. Most Montessori schools are set up with classrooms in these age ranges, but the school I attended was different. The elementary classrooms were combined, so when I was in 5th grades 1 through 7 were in the same classroom. Looking back now as an adult, it is shocking to think about the age difference about the 6-year-olds with the 12-year-olds in the same class. But during the experience from a child's point of view, it was fun and did not seem out of the ordinary at all. It allowed the older students to be leaders and helped the students promote peace and respect throughout the classroom. I truly enjoyed my experience as a Montessori child. But my Montessori journey did not end there. That is mainly because my dad is a Montessori teacher. He was a Montessori teacher before I was born, and he was my elementary teacher for all 5 years. My mom was also an assistant for a few years before becoming a special education teacher. Since my dad is a Montessori teacher, I would go to the school before I even attended, after I left the school to go to middle and high school. Any day that me and my sister, who also attended Montessori, had off, we would go to the school and help with his students. I would even sometimes go back during college, although my dad had changed schools at that point to a different Montessori school. And at the end of my college experience as a Spanish major, I thought about what I wanted to do. I decided I really loved the Montessori method, and as I had so much fun as a child, I could try to give that experience to other children. The summer after I graduated, I worked as an assistant with my dad during the during a Montessori summer school program. The school year after that, I was an assistant in elementary 1 classroom. The school year after that, I was an assistant in the Montessori elementary classroom, and I made it clear that I really wanted to go to the Montessori training because at that point, but I like being the teacher in the class too. So then it was an awesome experience, and then the next 2 years, I was going to the Montessori teacher training. So after my year of being an assistant, I went to the summer of training, and then that, I got my AMS training, so I went through the 2 years of that. So the first year, I was in my practicum, I co-taught with my dad, and then the next year, I was the lead teacher in my own class. I finished my training at the school, and then I decided to create my business, Parts of the Language LLC, and I was like, I can do it. I'll go all in with my love of Spanish and make this business. And then the school that I went to as a child reached out to me because I was fully trained at that point, but it was actually their kindergarten teacher had left. So I said, well, I'm trained for elementary. I loved the 6 to 9 age ranges, but they needed a kindergarten teacher for early childhood. So an early childhood classroom, ages 3 to 6. And I was like, oh, okay. At first I said no, but it was October and the school year had already started and the teacher was leaving. So I said, no, I prefer this one. But then I called them back and I'm like, you know what? I will do it. I went back, and so for 1 year, I was a 3 to 6 Montessori teacher, and then I did the kindergarten in the afternoon, and then that school didn't have an elementary because it had to close, so I insisted that it reopen the next school year, so I opened the elementary 1 classroom back at the school now. So to recap, my first year I was a lower elementary assistant in summer school and for then the next full school year. That next summer and then for the next 2 years I was in the lower elementary Montessori teacher training program. The second year of teaching, which was the first year in the training program, I co-taught with my dad in lower elementary. The third year, I was the lead teacher of my lower elementary, which was my second year of the training, and I got my full AMS certification. But then I decided to leave the school and work on my business. But then just that right after the October after that summer, my school from childhood called me and said, we need a last minute early childhood / kindergarten teacher. So I started in that classroom. And then year 5, I convinced the school to reopen the lower elementary program. So I was the lower elementary teacher that year. And then my 6th year, which is this current year, which is almost over all already because it's February, I am a lower elementary teacher. And that takes us up to now. So I'm excited to share in future episodes my past experience, not only in teaching, but also as a child and my present experiences with what I'm actually doing in my classroom and my future experiences, what I will have coming up in my classroom. Of course, this episode is sponsored by my own business, Parts of the Language, LLC. Please sign up for my free Montessori hub of resources that you can use in your Montessori environments. There are over 15 plus items, including 453 printable math equation cards, 36 weeks for first and second level editing sentences, and so much more. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.